Assalomu alaykum aziz talabalar. Bugungi video darsni sizlarga Mirzo Ulug'bek nomidagi O'zbekiston Milliy universiteti Xorijiy filologiya fakulteti Ingliz filologiyasi kafedrasi o'qituvchisi Исраилова Dilhumor taqdim etmoqda. Ijozatingiz bilan darsimning qolgan qismini ingliz tilida davom ettirsam. Today's video lesson is designed for the course on teaching integrated study skills, and the topic of the session is Criterion-referenced tests versus non-referenced tests. Let me introduce you with the agenda of my class. At the beginning of the presentation, you are given a short story about a student named Sahiba. I will also provide description of criterion-referenced tests and non-referenced tests by highlighting their strengths and weaknesses. Also, we will analyze what happened to Sahiba. Differences between CRTs and NRTs are provided as well. At the end of the session, you are given session debrief which conclude key parts of today's class. In the fall, a student named Sahiba did well on a district assessment. She scored 55 out of 100, which the district considers proficient for her grade level. And her percentile rank was 88, which puts her ahead of her peers. And later that school year in the spring, Sahiba took the same assessment again, and this time she scored 60, still proficient for her grade, but suddenly her percentile rank has dropped to 38. What happened? Sahiba's spring score of 60 is higher than her fall score of 55, but her percentile rank is lower, dropping from 88 to 38. How is that even possible? To understand what happened, we need to understand the difference between criterion-referenced tests and non-referenced tests. The difference is actually in the scores, not in the test form. Criterion-referenced tests compare students' knowledge and skills against a predetermined standard, cut score, or other criterion. Such tests, the performance of other students does not affect a student's score. It means an individual student's score is not affected by the performance of their peers, groupmates, or coursemates. Each person's performance is compared directly to the standard, without considering how other students perform on the test. And such tests usually use cut scores to place students into categories such as basic, proficient, and advanced user of target language. So this means knowing a student's score for CRT test will only tell language instructors how that specific student compared in relation to the criterion, but not whether they performed below average, above average, or average when compared to their peers. Here you can see some samples of CRTs such as open-end questions, true-false questions, and multiple choice questions. These assessments are quite often addressed in classroom assessment. So let's talk about strengths of CRTs. The first one is that the designing process is very helpful in clarifying objectives of the course, and such tests has a positive washback for small or unique groups for whom, let's say, norms are not available. And content validity is high since students know in advance beforehand what skills, topics, or subject areas are content domain. And because of these factors, students' anxiety filter is lowered. What about weaknesses of CRT? The first one is that the objectives measured are often too limited and restrictive. And sometimes bright students who easily attain the criterion level of mastery may not be encouraged to reach higher standard of excellence. And let's say the cut-off score is in practice usually highly arbitrary. Now we will talk about non-referenced tests. Non-referenced tests compare students' knowledge or skills to the knowledge and skills of the norm group. And this norm group is often a nationally representative sample of several thousand students in the same grade. Norm groups may also be further narrowed by age, socioeconomic level, status, race, ethnicity, or many other characteristics. what are the norm group? Norm group, here you can see couple students, and they are typically a large group of individuals who are similar to the examinees for whom the test is designed. In development process NRTs, the norm group is given the test, and then characteristics of this group's performance are used as a reference points for interpreting the other examinees' performance. Here you can see samples of NRTs such as a test of English as a foreign language, TOEFL, graduate record exam, also known as a GRE, and scholastic aptitude test, which is also called as a SAT tests in overseas academic sites. So what about the strengths of these NRTs? So the comparison can easily be made with the performance or achievement of a larger population of students, and such tests have fixed standards and contents usually based on a given theory of a language. And as tests already go through the process of empirical research and development, content validity is considered as a high. What about the weaknesses? It's difficult to match sometimes results perfectly with instructional objectives, since such tests are usually developed independently of any particular course of instruction. And as the focus is on the average score of the group, the tests may be insensitive to fluctuations in individuals. And usually such tests vary only with the population on which they have been designed. And one of the main limitations of NRT is that it doesn't tell language instructors whether their student met, exceeded, or fell short of proficiency or any other criterion. Sometimes students are provided with both criterion-referenced and norm-referenced results, which can often be the source of confusion. What to do? One of the possible solutions is that educators must use their professional judgment, knowledge of the student, familiarity with the standards and expectations, by understanding available resource, subject area expertise, to determine the best course of action for each individual student. It's important for educators to monitor growth in addition to gains. Here you can see difference between CRTs and NRTs according to their performance, comparison, objective, criteria, and results. So what happened to Sahiba in the scenario described at the beginning of this lesson? Do you remember this girl? So actually, in the fall, Sahiba scored 55 out of 100 on her district assessment. The district had set the cut score for proficiency at 50, meaning that she counts as proficient. And the district assessment provider compared Sahiba's score of 55 to the fall scores of their norm group and found that she scored higher than 88% of her peers in the norm group, and this gives her percentile rank of 88. And students in the norm group took the assessment twice as Sahiba, once in the fall and once in the spring. This time, the district assessment provider compares Sahiba's spring score to the spring scores of the norm group. In this case, the students in the norm group had notable gains and scored much higher in the spring than they did in the fall. Because students in the norm group generally had much larger gains from fall to spring than Sahiba did, her spring score now puts her at the 38th percentile. At home, you will read these two scenarios and provide your full answer to these scenarios. So, session debrief. Purpose of CRT is to determine whether student has achieved specific skills, concepts, and each student is compared with the present criteria, while NRTs rank students with respect to norm group and assign it a score, and discriminate between high and lower achievers. Both are suitable for different tasks. Here you can see the references which are used in this session. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can address them to this email. Bye for now.